Let the record show. High Marshal Axerat snarled, his mandibles clicking with restrained fury. That the species known as humanity is hereby exiled from all galactic territories, permanently. Commander Eli Draven didn't flinch. He took a loud, slurping sip from his steaming mug of espresso, tilted his chair back until it creaked, and said, "Cool. Saves us the parking fees." The chamber erupted in gasps, mandibles, tendrils, and antennae flailing in offense. Draven just raised an eyebrow. "Y'all really thought banning humans from space would stop us?" He leaned forward, smile razor sharp. "We build in exile. We thrive in chaos. And we never asked for permission." Somewhere deep in the void, a cloaked human dreadnought powered up its railguns. The chamber was not built for shouting, but that had never stopped the Galactic Council before. Stone-faced species with bioluminescent scales, spiraled tendrils, feathered crests, all argued over protocol and panic, their voices rising like pressure in a cracked hull. It was rare that every seat was filled. Rarer still that the debate wasn't over border trade or stellar taxation. No. Today was about a species. And not just any species, them. Axerat, High Marshal of the Peacekeeper Accord, stood beneath the shifting hologram of Earth's historical timeline. His voice clicked with precision as he listed human infractions. Multiple violations of interspecies diplomatic conduct. Unauthorized weaponization of AI. Incitement of chaos within stabilized sectors. Improvised warfare tactics involving kitchen appliances. Documented instances of psychological warfare via cultural mockery. And this, he extended a claw toward a frozen video frame behind him, showing a human soldier fist-bumping a war bot mid-battle. This mockery of order. Whispers rippled through the chamber. A few delegates nodded. Others shifted uncomfortably. Some still struggled to understand the footage, especially the part where the soldier screamed, while low, before jumping out of a dropship without a parachute. Then the doors hissed open. Commander Eli Draven walked in like he owned the stars. Dark coat, 2 weeks past regulation. Collar popped. Coffee in hand. No weapons, no entourage, just a man with a pulse, a smirk, and the kind of eyes that had seen things and made jokes about them. "Apologies for the delay," he said, strolling down the central aisle. "There was a black hole of bureaucracy at docking." No one laughed. He didn't care. Axerat's mandibles tensed. "You were summoned to defend your species against charges of cultural destabilization. Not to perform." Draven took his seat. "Trust me, this is the defense." The council chair, an ancient being with a crystalline carapace and voice like wind through metal, gestured with a light pulse. "Proceed, Commander Draven. We will hear your statement before voting." Draven set his cup on the table with exaggerated care. "You accuse humanity of chaos," he began. "Let me offer you a mirror. Your council spent 200 years debating the ethical classification of artificial sentience, while we built one that could beat us at chess, ethics, and comedy, all before lunch. You negotiated the shape of a peace flag for 9 years. We made peace by running out of ammo and sharing whiskey. You built 1,000 rules. We broke one and survived anyway." Murmurs turned to murmured fury. Axerat stepped forward. "This arrogance is exactly why your kind is incompatible with structured civilization." "No," Draven replied calmly. "It's why we don't need it." He tapped a small device. The chamber lights dimmed. A new hollow filled the air, images of human colonists surviving asteroid storms, outnumbered Marines holding off war beasts with nothing but grit, engineers fixing FTL drives with duct tape and sheer nerve. A father shielding his daughter from plasma fire with his own body. A mother piloting a refugee freighter through an ion storm, teeth clenched, systems failing, her child strapped to her chest. "These aren't war crimes," Draven said. "They're war miracles. And you ban us because you can't categorize us." Axerat snarled. "You are unpredictable. Dangerous. Primitive." Draven leaned forward, eyes hard. "And every time one of your civilized systems breaks down, who do you call for rescue? Who lands where no one else will? Who bleeds first, jokes last, and never leaves anyone behind? Silence. Heavy. Tense. Then the vote was called. One by one, the representatives spoke. A species of methane breathers intoned. Exile. A hive mind quartet whispered. Non-compliant. Remove. Even the silent species communicated with a red pulse of light. Unanimous. The chair turned. Commander Draven. Humanity is hereby exiled from all Galactic Council systems. Your species is no longer recognized under the Unified Protocol. Draven didn't blink. He stood, straightened his coat, picked up his cup. Perfect. Gasps. Axerat barked. You find banishment amusing? No, Draven replied, walking slowly toward the exit. I find it freeing. He stopped at the threshold, turned back once. You think exile weakens us. You think isolation means irrelevance. But you forget, we're human. We don't do well under supervision. We thrive when the leash is cut. You just gave us exactly what we wanted. He winked at the delegation of fungal telepaths. See you on the dark side of the system. Then he left, bootsteps echoing through the stillness, that damned cup of coffee steaming like it knew a secret. Outside, in the shadow of the Grand Hall, a small comm unit buzzed to life on his collar. Fringe control here. Status? Draven smiled. Unanimous. We're officially outlaws. Static crackled, then Twitch's voice came through, glitchy and giddy. About time. The new prototypes are aboard. Draven looked up at the stars, far beyond the Council's reach. Let's make some noise. The shipyard looked like a graveyard of forgotten gods. It floated in the black between Saturn's outer rings and the silent corpse of an abandoned mining moon, wrapped in cloaking arrays and pulse scramblers. From a distance, it was nothing but scrap, dead freighters, fractured colony hulls, driftwood in space. Up close, it was Fringe Command 1, the beating heart of humanity's outlaw resurgence. Commander Draven's dropship peeled through the shield perimeter and docked with a hiss. He stepped out into controlled chaos. Drones buzzed past, welding new cannons onto a half-assembled cruiser. Techs in oxygen-tinted suits barked orders at mechs dragging missile crates. Someone in the distance shouted, "No! Not the blue wires, those ignite!" Draven moved like he belonged, because he did. This wasn't a military base. It was an ecosystem. And it thrived on the one thing the Galactic Council feared most: human improvisation. Twitch, he called. Status. A figure dropped from a maintenance beam 20 feet above and landed in a crouch that was entirely too dramatic for anyone but a sapient AI. Twitch stood up, stretching arms that looked like industrial scaffolding crossed with a dancer's frame. A glowing blue slit flickered where a face might have been. Commander. Welcome home. Did the bureaucrats hand us a trophy yet? Draven smirked. Better. They kicked us out completely. Twitch's body emitted a soft rising tone, laughter. So exile is official. I'll notify the champagne cannons. Draven followed the AI through the catwalks toward the ops deck. How bad's the leak? Twitch didn't hesitate. Real bad. You remember the insectoids from Theta Cross? The ones getting trampled by that expansionist lizard empire? Draven nodded. Well, someone, Twitch said, may have anonymously shipped them a few obsolete human mech frames. For defensive purposes only. Draven stopped. And now? They're winning, Twitch said. Spectacularly. Broadcasting war chants that are just distorted TikTok audio and airdropping pamphlets quoting Churchill. Draven rubbed his eyes. Of course they are. You sent them Churchill? Twitch gestured innocently. I also gave them fusion blades and portable rail platforms. Churchill came free with the software package. Draven stepped into the ops chamber. The walls were curved plasma screens showing dozens of live feeds, colonies, signals, diplomatic channels, and more red pings than he liked. The human fringe had grown fast. Too fast. Council won't believe this was rogue, he muttered. They'll blame Earth. Again. They'd be right. Twitch replied. Our black market tech is half the reason entire outer sectors are still functioning. Draven watched a feed where a smuggler freighter dropped supplies to a colony under siege, then vanished through a wormhole. Human built. No authorization. And yet, he said, we haven't started a war. Yet. Depends on your definition, Twitch said cheerfully. If exporting revolution is war, we're already knee-deep. Draven leaned against the railing. This isn't sustainable. We weren't ready for full-blown collapse when they exiled us. We needed time. Structure. Twitch tilted its head. You think they gave us exile to stop us? I think they gave it to us because they knew we'd build something better. A beat. Draven didn't answer. The AI moved closer. We've outgrown the myth of Earth. The fringe is freedom. No taxes. No planetary zoning restrictions. No cultural violation audits. Just results. We built 20 colonies in 4 years. That took the Council 70. And they're scared, Draven said. Scared enough to shoot. He walked over to a display table. A map expanded, Council territory in blue, fringe in red. Red pockets were spreading. We're not a rebellion anymore, he said. We're a contagion. Every time we solve a problem, a dozen species watch and think, why not us? Twitch flicked to another feed. Alien merchants bartering with human engineers over power cores. A bipedal snake thing laughing as a human child taught it to dance. Soldiers wearing mixed armor, some clearly salvaged from council stockpiles, others stamped with the UNF logo, long since defunct. Culture's leaking, Twitch said. It's not just tech. Draven turned to the AI. You know what's coming next, right? Twitch nodded. Peacekeeper fleet. Manufactured outrage. Some conveniently timed accusations. They'll bait us, Draven said. Make us react, give them justification. So we don't react? Twitch said. We act. There was a pause. Actually, Twitch added, we misact. Convince them we're dumber than we are. Let their fear do the rest. Draven laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. You're suggesting we go back? Virilax 3, the AI said. Walk right into the lion's den. Play innocent. Offer them help. They won't believe us. They will if we're smug enough. Arrogant. Incompetent looking. You, in other words. Draven gave the AI a look. Thanks. My pleasure. A calm ping chirped. Draven tapped it. Moxie here. Came a voice smoother than Twitch's manic cadence, more human in tone, female-coded, sly. His second AI. She handled social manipulation better. Galactic net chatter's heating up, she said. Words out that someone's supplying unregistered technologies to Outer Rim uprisings. And a certain insectoid warlord just tweeted a victory quote, in English. Draven sighed. That was fast. Moxie continued. Council response is forming. Official summons to Virilax 3 already transmitted. They think you'll come crawling back to explain yourself. Perfect, Draven said. Let's go give them a show. He looked out the viewport. Somewhere in the stars, diplomacy had just been declared a live-fire zone. Twitch's lights flickered with excitement. Shall I prep the absurdly overpowered ship with no legal name? Draven grinned. Make sure it leaks atmosphere just enough to look like it's falling apart. Aesthetic chaos. My specialty. As he walked toward the launch bay, Draven finished the last of his cold coffee. Moxie piped in again. Should I prepare the diplomatic packet? Yeah, he said. Send them Churchill too. Let's see what they do with that. The diplomatic docking port at Virilax 3 wasn't built for human ships, and Draven's arrival made that painfully obvious. His vessel, the Diplomatic Incident, lurched into the hangar with a metallic screech, hydraulic lines hissing like a wounded beast. Painted boldly across its hull in multiple alien dialects was a single phrase. This is the peace option. Smoke poured from a fake breach near the engine vent. A wing fluttered loose and clanged to the floor. 2 security drones aimed weapons. Draven stepped out, unfazed, brushing soot off his coat. I brought the budget model, he said, coughing theatrically. Figured we'd match the council's energy. No one laughed. Again. He was escorted, flanked, technically, through layers of security toward the central diplomatic chamber. Each hallway was sterilized, color-coded, and silent. Nothing here had been designed by people who understood jokes. Or fire. Or duct tape. Inside the chamber, the council had already assembled. Draven counted 6 new species since his last appearance. They stared at him the way a museum curator might eye a grenade someone tossed onto a pedestal. High Marshal Axerat stood stiffly, mandibles tucked tight. Commander Draven, he said without greeting. We were informed of your arrival. Unfortunately. Draven flashed a tight smile. Missed me? Axerat ignored him. You are here to answer for the unauthorized distribution of banned human weaponry to multiple insurgent colonies across 3 council sectors. Draven held up a data slab. I brought cookies. Murmurs. The crystalline chair glowed faintly. Explain. Draven tapped the slab. The display behind him lit up, maps, timelines, communications logs. He paced slowly as he spoke. Let's get one thing straight. Humanity didn't authorize anything. Fringe operations are independent. Autonomous. I can't control every inventor with a grudge and a 3D printer. You're their leader, Axerat hissed. Draven gestured. I'm their janitor. I clean up when things go sideways. Speaking of, one of your colonies was saved from a pirate siege by one of those unauthorized mechs. Any thanks for that? Silence. He walked forward, deliberately disrespecting the invisible lines of diplomacy. What's really bothering you isn't the weapons. It's that they work. Better than yours. Cheaper. Faster. Human. A counselor with 6 eye stalks leaned in. We've intercepted broadcasts. Alien children idolize human marines. They quote your soldiers. They chant your slogans. Draven didn't blink. They're tired of living under 100 rules. We just gave them the tools to stand. Axerat raised a claw. You armed rebellions. No, Draven replied. We sold power to the powerless. They chose what to do with it. The chair pulsed. Are you saying you do not claim responsibility for these events? I claim accountability, Draven said. Responsibilities for people who think control is real. Axerat stepped forward, face rigid. You've turned chaos into a brand. This council stands for order. Stability. You stand for stagnation. Draven shot back. 2 centuries of protocols, and you still haven't figured out how to save a colony from a food shortage without forming a subcommittee. Another murmur rolled through the chamber. Draven could see it, the shift. Doubt. A crack forming beneath layers of bureaucratic certainty. He pushed harder. You want to ban human tech, human methods, human culture. Fine. But every species you deny it to just wants it more. You made us forbidden fruit. That never ends well. A reptilian delegate narrowed her eyes. What is your proposal, human? Draven shrugged. Simple. Let us help. Officially. We'll audit our exports. Vet fringe operators. Supply peacekeeping assets. For a fee, of course. Axerat slammed his claw down. You would license your chaos? I would sell solutions, Draven said. Something you clearly can't. The chamber buzzed. Even the chair's glow brightened slightly. You've become parasites, Axerat snarled. You create the problem, then offer to fix it. Better than doing nothing while pretending you're in control, Draven replied coolly. Then, without warning, he switched the display to a live feed, footage from a fringe outpost. A firefight. Alien civilians caught in crossfire. A pirate assault force advancing. Then a single human-built mech dropped from orbit and obliterated the attackers with a few precise shots. A medical drone moved in, stabilized a wounded child, and deployed shelter pods. The footage ended. Draven looked at the silent room. That's what we're offering. Not weapons. Security. Real, brutal, efficient peace. Your methods failed. Ours didn't. The chair hummed. This council requires time to deliberate. Leave us. Draven nodded. Of course. But one more thing. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small data chip. It's a video. Educational. What kind of education? Asked the confused delegate. Draven's grin widened. Human history. Specifically, every time we were underestimated. He placed the chip on the table. Turned. Walked out. As he passed the doors, he muttered to Moxie on a private channel. Broadcast that clip to every neutral system. Subtitle it in all major languages. Already done, Moxie replied. Do you want the soundtrack to be ominous or hopeful? Draven didn't hesitate. Both. The first strike came faster than anyone predicted. A council colony on the rim, Veltraxis Prime, sent a distress signal. Broadcasted across secure diplomatic channels, encrypted, tagged for peacekeeper priority. No time for debate. No vote. Just static, screaming, and images of orbital defenses being turned to molten shards. Twitch intercepted the feed before it reached Virilax. Draven stood in Fringe Command's war room, watching it loop. A squad of unknown insurgents, non-human, fast, heavily armed, dropped from orbit using grav chutes stamped with modified Terran schematics. The footage paused on the side of one of their dropships, a spray-painted quote in English. Human tech for a free galaxy. Draven didn't blink. Not ours. Twitch's voice crackled. Design's ours. Source isn't. Someone reverse-engineered our open-source fleet blueprints and built something mean. Anyone we trained? He asked. Dozens of species. Hard to tell. This wasn't one of our franchises, though. Then it's already spreading. He exhaled through his teeth. Perfect. Moxie's voice joined in. Peacekeepers just announced an emergency meeting. Axerat's screaming about coordinated human insurgency. Words like sanctions, intervention, and annihilation are trending. Draven tilted his head, amused. Did he say annihilation? That's cute. He turned to Twitch. Ready the fog. Twitch's lights flickered. Deploying the fleet specters? No. Just the decoys. I want the galaxy to think we've got teeth everywhere. Fake warships, ghost signals, disruption hacks. Smother their data feeds with false signatures. And the real fleet? On standby. Silent. He narrowed his eyes. This isn't a war yet. This is a lesson. Back in Virilax 3, the council chamber pulsed with tension. Species who once whispered hesitated before speaking at all. The chair called the emergency session, but it was Axerat who seized the floor. He didn't rage. This time, he calculated. Another council world has been attacked. This time with undeniable human influence. He said, voice even, eyes cold. And Commander Draven's kind offers us solutions to problems they manufactured. He turned slowly, gesturing toward an empty seat. Notice he's not here to answer. Another delegate, a gas-shrouded being from Huldrex, clicked its translator online. You fear humanity. Perhaps rightly. But fear should not guide our response. They breed instability. Axerat replied. That is their currency. Their culture is contagion. But before anyone else could speak, the chamber lights dimmed. Every screen switched to a broadcast feed. Draven's face appeared. Casual, calm, and annoyingly charismatic. Sorry to interrupt the apocalypse. Thought I'd help clarify some things. He stood in what looked like a fringe habitat, clean, advanced, undeniably stable. Families moved behind him. Non-human children played in gravity fields. Soldiers trained in human exosuits with mixed species instructors. You think we're building an empire? We're not. We're building options. You locked our kind out, so we built elsewhere. Now others are asking for a piece of it. He stepped aside, letting the camera pan across alien engineers working on human-designed power cores. Medical drones assisting in surgery. Hybrid fleets patrolling trade routes long abandoned by the Council. You're scared we're winning a war? Draven continued. But there's no war. Not yet. There's just a question: do you want to stay in charge of a collapsing order, or admit it needs reinvention? Axerat's voice sliced through the silence. Enough. End this transmission. The chair, however, did not issue the command. Not yet. Instead, one of the aquatic delegates murmured, "My people received aid from the fringe. Medicine we've waited for decades. No council committee approved it. But it worked." Another delegate, a crystalline spire, spoke. "Your fear of humans blinds you, Marshal. You want to punish them. But you never understood them." Axerat turned, jaw tight. "I understand them perfectly. They do not build. They infect. We are watching a virus evolve in real time." He stepped back, pulse trembling with fury. In the depths of Fringe Command, Draven stood in silence after the broadcast ended. Moxie's voice was smug. "Over 24 neutral species have contacted us since the stream. They want talks. Access. Protection. Alliance." Twitch spun a hologram of growing influence spheres. Red rings encroached on council borders, not with fleets, but with trust. "They can't stop the shift," Twitch said. "Not without starting the very war they're trying to avoid." Draven looked at the board. "And if they do?" Moxie didn't pause. "Then we stop playing nice." 3 days later, a peacekeeper armada moved toward the fringe border. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. But as it reached the demarcation line, its systems shut down. One by one. Engines flickered. Comms died. Lights blinked out. No ships were attacked. No weapons used. They were simply turned off. Moxie's virus did its job. And from the darkness of the asteroid belt, 20 human-designed stealth frigates uncloaked, silent, gleaming, untouched. Draven's voice came through an open channel. "Your move, Council." Axerat, watching from Virilax, felt something colder than hate stir inside him. He had wanted to bury humanity. But instead, he had made them a myth. The Council didn't declare defeat. They simply stopped answering. One by one, the emergency meetings faded. The peacekeeper fleet drifted back toward safe harbors, weapons powered down, crews avoiding eye contact in diplomatic corridors. No official statement. No apology. Just silence. It was the only surrender they could afford without admitting they'd lost. And humanity never fired a single shot. At Fringe Command, Draven stood alone on the observation deck, arms folded as he watched the stars. The void was different now. Not emptier, wider. The line between exile and dominance had blurred. What began as a punishment had become a pivot. The Council tried to erase humanity from the map. Instead, they'd given them the blank page they needed to redraw it. "Council traffic's down to a trickle," Moxie said in his ear. "Intercepted 6 new trade requests for independent alliances, and one very confused ambassador who wants to defect with his entire moon." Draven raised a brow. "He's bringing the whole moon?" "Yes. Wants us to help him move it. Something about cultural persecution." He exhaled slowly, half grinning. "Tell him we'll send a quote." Behind him, Twitch approached, optics gleaming. "They won't come at us again. Not directly. They'll try influence wars. Cut off our allies. Whisper campaigns." Draven nodded. "Let them. They're chasing shadows now. We've already won where it matters." Twitch rotated a data sphere in one metallic hand. "Want to see something?" The lights dimmed as the projection activated. A collage of images and signals, alien children wearing Earth-made jackets. Refugee ships displaying fringe flags. News feeds from neutral worlds analyzing human philosophy like it was a newly discovered science. A comedy broadcast, made by a reptilian species, recreating Draven's trial entrance in exaggerated form, complete with fake espresso and explosions. "They're copying us," Twitch said, tone unreadable. "They're adapting," Draven corrected. "We gave them permission. Is that what this was about?" Twitch asked. Permission? No. He turned back toward the void. Proof. He took a sip from the same battered coffee mug he'd carried through Virilax. The phrase printed on it, "We tried playing nice," was barely visible now. A chime interrupted. Moxie again. High Marshal Axerat just released a statement. Draven arched a brow. On what frequency? Encrypted council-only band. But he knew we'd crack it. Of course he did. He muttered. Let's hear it. Her voice shifted, mimicking Axerat's tone, cold, deliberate, no hint of rage this time. The human anomaly continues to evolve. It no longer fits the parameters by which we once judged it. Attempts to contain it have failed, and any further engagement risks greater instability. Therefore, the Accord will restrict contact but will not interfere. Let history record this not as peace, but as necessary recalibration. Draven chuckled. That's as close to a confession as we'll ever get. He's scared, Moxie said. Not just of you. Of what happens when others realize they don't need the council either. He should be. Draven moved to the central console and pulled up the latest fleet overview. The diplomatic incident was now one of 30 similar ships, some faster, some larger, all faster than anything the council dared to test in open space. Moxie added softly, You could take Earth back now. Officially. No one would stop you. Draven paused. Earth doesn't need rescuing, he said. It needs remembering. We've already outgrown the cradle. The new frontier isn't planets, it's minds. Twitch approached behind him, motionless for a long beat. You ever think we went too far? Draven didn't turn. We didn't go far enough. He tapped a console, pulling up a fresh relay. Thousands of civilian fringe colonies. Dozens of mixed-species settlements. New alliances. New languages forming. Every line on the map once drawn in fear now blurred in innovation. Then he leaned back and said, Push a new directive. We're not outlaw tech anymore. We're open access. Publish everything. Blueprints. AI ethics packages. Terraforming procedures. Let everyone use them. Let everyone build. Twitch's optics flickered. They'll accuse us of empire. They already do. Then why give them everything? Because if you want to kill a council, Draven said, you make it obsolete. He walked back to the window, silent as the dark. Minutes passed. Then Moxie, softly now. What should we call this era? Draven thought for a moment. Not an era. A message. And the message is? He looked at the stars. At the shipyards. At the storm that never came. They banned us from their sky, he said, voice steady. So we made our own. And ours has better weapons. Behind him, the fleet came online, not to fight, not to conquer, but to remind the galaxy of one simple truth. Humanity doesn't ask for space. It takes the stars.